So this is 20 Acre Farms, and we are here with a really great channel, and this is Heartiness Approach. And so we're going to do this together today. You guys want to talk a little bit about who you are,
Sure.
what you are, what your channel's doing?
Sure. Well, we always like to start by introducing ourselves. I'm Jim.
I'm Rhonda, and we're Heartiness Approach.
Yeah, we started YouTube a little over a year ago.
About a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half now at this point. And the big push for us had to do with being healthy. We have several years that we've been working at getting healthier, and this was a great opportunity to get started and share our success and encourage other people to make the changes.
So basically we do real food, exercise, being emotionally well, and doing it in a homestead setting, and making it, we zero in on people that are our age. We didn't start that way, but it all ended up that way, and we're really happy that there's others. We love all of our young
by the
ones.
way,
And so we do it sustainably living in place.
Yes.
Is that what you were going to say?
and that a homestead doesn't have to be acres and acres. A homestead can be a planter box on your patio, if that's all you have. I mean, the idea is to do what you can, make the most of what you have. That's the point.
Awesome. Well, it's really good to meet you guys. We got to be with them a little bit yesterday, and that's where we met them here in North Carolina. But they are on a big move. They're on a big mission, moving from Oregon to Missouri. They found a place. Can you tell us a little bit now about that move, why that move, and
In a
how that
nutshell.
all took
Let's
place?
do that.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
6 months ago, we left, actually 6.5 months ago, we left Oregon. We had to leave there. We were on a homestead, and they
Rented.
kept raising the rent, and it wasn't going to be sustainable.
Plus, what's important is we talked to the landlord about doing more.
We wanted to do pigs and cows, and he said, no. And in fact, I'm going to raise the rent. And he really liked us, but anyway. So we had to find a place. And so we've been on a 6-month mission, literally all over the United States.
So the first question might be, Oregon's a great place. Why didn't you find something there?
So out west is where most of our children are, and the problem is in two things. It's too expensive, and there's not enough water, and there's too many restrictions. So I guess that's 3 things.
Yeah. Maybe we might have been able to find a place somewhere. The search was really difficult. We couldn't match up what we wanted to accomplish and find a place that could do that we could afford.
And so we found a place in Missouri. It's about 30 acres. It was extremely affordable. The taxes are amazingly great. And we have 2 ponds and a creek and barns. And
Missouri is very open to having you pretty much do almost anything you want.
And before anybody says it, yes, we know it's hot and humid. We get that.
Yeah.
We've been there before and stuff. So there's nothing perfect about any place like where you guys live.
Yeah.
What would be wrong with your place
Lots
in
of snow.
North Dakota or South Dakota?
But everywhere there is something, and you got to work around it. You got to work with it, and there's got to be a reason to be there. And both of us have, if we go back at least 1 or 2 generations, we have family there. They may not be there anymore, but there were multiple generations who lived
In Missouri.
In Missouri.
I wonder if, before we go any further, if we could introduce you a little bit for our viewers.
Yes.
So, introduce yourself.
Great. So we are 20 Acre Farms, and we are out of South Dakota, Selby, South Dakota, where it's cold, snow blowing, craziness.
Blizzards and lots of hot.
Yeah. So we just have a little 20 acre plot where we have a milk cow. We have some sheep, chickens. We've had goats on the property, ducks, turkeys, and we have 3 kids not here with us right now. But we love homesteading, and we love to kind of capture our moments to share with others so that they can learn and progress their homestead. And we're all about know and grow. So we grow our own food, and we know where it comes from. We know what's on it. It's a big deal to us.
I love that. I love that.
Don't grow.
I'm putting that on my wall.
Yeah. So that's great. So Previous, you guys have talked a little bit on your channel about finding land. You know, you've rented, so there are different ways. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of land. You rented. It just wasn't the best situation in the end.
It actually was the perfect situation
Okay.
for a while.
If we had gone
gorgeous.
into it better, if we had talked to the landlord, we just assumed too
Okay.
much, and we should have asked the questions. It might have caused us to look at something else, or he might have let us do more from the beginning.
We actually have made a video on what to do if you're going to rent a homestead. Because
Okay.
it's super possible. You just need to know, go in with your eyes open.
Yeah, that's huge. So yeah, definitely. If you're gonna rent, you need to be very open or be very inquisitive with your landlord on, you know, what am I able to do? How far am I able to go? And then these are the dreams. These are what I'm expecting our family, what we want to do on that homestead. And is this even plausible
Right.
for that?
Right.
Yep.
We had 2 great years there.
Okay.
And built a lot of infrastructures that we had to sell.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Well, it's just stepping stones too. You know, some places can be a stepping stone, like
Yes.
a launching pad.
yes.
It was a
Seriously.
wonderful addition to our education. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Perfect.
It was.
And you guys have been on your property for how long?
About 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Well, now for you though, you've known the area a little.
Yeah,
longer.
I grew up there, so
And
I
you
was
moved
there
from,
Montana. We lived there for about 7 years.
Yeah, and
then
actually,
moved back.
the 20-acre property which was at one point a much bigger, probably over 1,000 acre-ish. No,
I don't even know.
anyways, has been in Bethany's family for a long, long time.
Since the
So
80s about.
yeah,
oh, that's
and
great.
so that
So
property.
the family makes up for the cold.
Yeah. At least that's what we tell ourselves.
keeps it warm. At least our hearts are warm. It's South Dakota. So, yeah. So moving now to Missouri, is that fitting? I mean, just moving on to the place as it is, how much of your world does that actually, I mean, does it complete everything right off the bat? I mean, it just seems like you can't ever find the perfect spot, but how?
It's not perfect, but we're going to be there in 3 days.
Yeah. Wow.
And we visualize what it's going to be like to go on there and take the walk around the property that's now our property.
Yeah.
And of course, we've already started making a long list of all the things we want to fix and
Yeah.
all the things we want to build and all the things we want to do. And we just have to take our time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
But I think as far as what we wanted to do, primarily what's there is pasture. We wanted to do gardening and raise different kinds of crops that we could use, and it's been totally pasture, which, as you know, can have some challenge turning that into something where we're actually growing what we tend to grow. So from day one, we're going to have to, first we've got to totally look at it and be sure what we have, what's the soil like, all the aspects of it, where we think we want to put the gardening area, is that going to work? Is that really slope-wise, quality of the ground, soil-wise, is this going to work? Is there going to be a better location to do it? So there's a lot we have to do.
because we ultimately want to do a market garden.
Market gardening.
We
Okay.
want to pattern it after JM48.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And really use him as our mentor through his books and classes and things. And I know it's like a leap to do that, but I feel like if we follow him, that we can make it work.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we looked at, I mean, there were a lot of criteria that went into that, and one of them was how many growing days do we have? How many days between frosts?
Oh,
And
how
we
many
wanted-
growing days do you guys have?
Not many.
And one of our goals was to hit close to 180 days, which moves us south a ways, and we realize that, but knowing our goals, it's important that we have enough time to grow. And there are ways around it, there's ways you can work with it, but what we opted for was to have that many days. Well, we're ending up with like 190. So, that was a big deal. But one other factor that moved us away from some of the areas we were looking at, we looked to see, are there currently farmers markets, which means there's a market. People are willing there's enough people interested in buying those kinds of products
Yeah.
that there's an opportunity for us to fit in. And some of the areas we looked at, there weren't any farmers markets. And I tried to look and figure out why, and at some of them I got plausible answers to that. This area has farmers markets in several of the little towns, and in the bigger towns close by, there's a year-round farmers market. So we're thinking to ourselves, well, this isn't a full market study, but it's there.
Plus, we want to have
I-
CSAs
Oh, CSAs, yes.
Yeah.
and sell to restaurants or
Yeah.
stores and things like that.
So apparently there's some possibilities. It's going to have to be developed. But
So,
we've watched Joel Salatin and the way that he got himself started, how he went to all the groups and he taught
We
and
plan
he
to do
published
speaking
and he did
engagements.
he did so much to make people aware of what he was doing, and he changed things enough to where he had a marketplace, and we realize that's the types of activities we're going to have to do to make it happen, most likely.
Oh yeah.
Well, could you tell what you did to bring in income to your place? It was so
Yeah.
creative.
Yeah. Well, I think just what you were saying, like if you don't have something in your homestead, I think you have to create it. You know,
Yeah.
like you said, if you don't have a market for something,
And I
like
think he told me something
building
about
that.
boxes and getting outside of that box. a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, thinking outside the box. I'm a very out of the box thinker, and Matt's very meticulous in just day to day operations, and so we work really well.
You need both.
We need both,
Yeah.
and thinking outside the box was really huge for us on our place because we wanted to create farmers markets. There's nothing in our area that people came and gathered, and we, you know, I'm from long generations on both sides of being entrepreneurs and being farmers and ranchers, and so it wasn't that many years ago that everybody gathered together on Saturday nights and went out dancing and had live music and food, and everybody gathered together around the kitchen table, and we just felt like, man, that's just something that's so missing from our culture, is just genuine friendships. And so community, building community. So we on our little 20-acre farms, we said, you know what, I think we should just do these farmers markets. And so it started out in my idea thinking a lot of people that grow vegetables and can bring their stuff all to one location, one Saturday a month. We'll have live music and food and, you know, dancing and all of that. And it just ended up being no food because of our growing conditions. If you have a market in June and July, you're certainly not going to have produce by that time.
Yep.
Right.
And so towards the end of our markets, I would say August and September, right, is when people started bringing more
Harvest
of those things.
time.
That
You had vendors that made homemade goodies and
Yep.
things.
Yeah, soaps or crocheted or knitted or sewed or took photography.
Yeah, hand forged knives, baked goods.
breads.
Wow.
And it was just neat because when you created that expectation, well, to be a vendor at our farmers market, you have to be handmade or homegrown. It kind of made people be creative.
Yeah.
Like it helped people kind of think back to those things they used to do, those skills that they used to, you know, maybe knew from their grandparents, or, you know, something I used to do before I had kids, or something that I did before, you know, now maybe they're retired. We had a lot of people retired that would come back and, I used to do this, and I have all this stuff sitting in my garage that's in a, you know, and like started bringing, even my grandpa, he's 90, he brought all these little things. Can you sell these? Can you sell these little things?
That's
and
wonderful.
you know, he's amazing. Yeah, little hand stained glass.
So totally
glasses.
intergenerational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we had people my age, you know, 20s all the way up to 90. It was just neat to be able to have an atmosphere where people could come. They came from hundreds of miles away. I mean, it was just, and they stayed, you know, and they stayed around for a while.
And
It was really fun.
I think the other part, I mean, it's just like meeting you guys. I mean, it was, you know, hanging out last night. We don't know you from anybody, really. And yet, because we have a certain things in common, we can sit around a table and almost feel like
We
family.
call it like-minded.
Yeah. And we thought, man, why is that not happening in our community? You know, we're such a small community, but why can't we neighbor up to other people? And so, instead of just sitting back in our place, where I think a lot of the culture in small town farming in our area is, we don't really want everybody else to see what we're doing on our farm. We don't really want to share our secrets because, you know, we're getting by, we're doing well with what we're doing. And we don't want to just invite people to be a part of what we're doing.
So it's not like we're hiding trade secrets, we're just maybe a little self-conscious?
Yeah, because I don't know what you're gonna think of me, and you don't know what I'm gonna think of you, and then all of a sudden that's just a big wall. It's just a huge barrier there, and we need to really break that down and call neighbors, and call that community. And we've found that I think our first farmers market had over 300 people. And
oh my goodness! And there's only 700 in their town.
Yeah, and
we drew out people.
We had Bethany's dad on a horse parking all the cars, and it was just like really.
I love it.
Yeah, it was really neat, and it was just a sense of barriers down. You're here because we're family.
Okay, so you're doing that again this summer?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think just building that community, like I was just thinking when Grandpa, they raised a couple thousand broiler chickens every year, and everybody came to the farm to pick up their chicken. They knew where their food was from. So I think even if you can't physically grow chickens on your own property, it's great to still connect and still,
to know where your food. What he always says is, if you can't grow it yourself, go to the farmer, look him in the eye, so that you know that what he's putting into your belly is going to be good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah.
So true.
And I think another thing with the farmers market that we found was, it was such kind of what people thought was going to be a really small venue. So we got just people coming out of the woodwork. And it's like we just found so many talented people that have never been able to really market their items outside of.
Yeah,
They don't want to get online on Etsy and try to figure all this stuff out. They just want to
just be hometown people.
Yeah, if they could sell a couple of things, and it's like, wow, we have talented people all around us that. I mean, the stained glass and the woodwork.
We're talking South Dakota here.
Yeah. So it was another way for just to put a little bit of light and shine the people in our community that.
And try to keep our money in our community, you don't realize what you have to find gifts for people, to find food for your, family, to find whatever. I mean, things for your own home until you start, wow, I didn't know you did that. I didn't know you do that,
Yeah, you really.
What we experienced before was that when you are in a community like that, we had neighbors that were 25 miles away, and it didn't matter because you were neighbors. You all lived in the country.
I think it was a little different than what you experienced, because she's actually talking about a different location in Oregon. We were in southern Utah for a while.
Okay.
And this was an area that had been settled in the mid-1800s, and a lot of those same families were still there. So this is, the descendants, and their community had been built over time, and everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
But we were all neighbors, and they would have a farmer's market down in the big city, and then they would come back home and they'd call their neighbors and say, we have this much food left, we have this much food left. If you want to come over and purchase it or whatever and give it, it was just wonderful.
Yeah.
The community is so wonderful. Yeah. I'm so thrilled with what you're talking about.
It's fun, and anybody can do it, That's what we want to create, is not just that, come to 20 Acre Farm. No, do this kind of change in your own community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it can really spiral effect, and you can really create community no matter where you're at.
Yep.
And build friendships.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you're gonna close on Friday. What's that?
I'm gonna make sure
You're gonna close on Friday.
Okay.
You're gonna start that journey. So what are the first few things that you're excited about? I mean, just tackling right away, or is there urgency on certain things that you need to get going?
I don't think we have urgency.
Okay.
And that probably relaxes us a little bit.
Yeah.
He has a job that he's able to work. I mean, we were both retired, and then we decided maybe not quite yet. And so he works for our son from our home. So he's able to do.
But I need the internet to do that.
So
we don't have an urgency, but yeah, we want to get the garden ready first. Even we've still got to go to Oregon and pick up our things. So before we leave for Oregon, if we could get down the sheet mulch and some compost and stuff so that it's getting ready for us, so that when we get back we can plant it. That's the way to go. And then as soon as we get back, we're getting chickens.
Okay. Yeah.
getting those chickens, and we plan to get pigs and eventually a milk cow. But we've kind of made ourselves say, no, we're holding off on the milk cow until we have more people to know us, and that we could have teenage boy or whatever come over that we trust. We met some people last night, and he goes, this young man says, I'll come over, and I'm like, you're in Georgia. But you look really nice. So,
but that's another aspect of community, because as you know, you don't walk away from a farm.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to be there, especially if you have animals. Somebody's got to be
you're
there.
lucky in that you have family.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really are.
So, yeah. So we want to be able to do everything where, yes, we're still dependent on being there, but we can have someone come in that knows the farm and can take over when we go visit grandkids.
I mean, we've got grandkids. We can't just expect them all to come over. Although most of them have said, "Hey, we're going to come."
Yeah.
That was the first question our daughter asked. Who they don't have kids yet, and they're in the process of adopting, because it looks like that's going to be the only way for them. Hopefully, our suspicions are once they get that well underway, then they'll probably that'll change for them. But anyway, her first question was, so can I bring the kids
For a week every summer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
So we do eventually feel that our goal is that he won't have to work, that it'll just be the homestead, and we'll just be putting ourselves into doing our broilers, which we sell, and our market garden, which we do.
Right. Right.
yeah, and an important part, and it's not physically. It's hard work. There's no doubt about it. And so usually people who are getting to be our age, instead of planning on doing something like this, are walking or running even away from it. And our opinion is you need to be able to sustain yourself, which means whatever you're doing is something you could continue to do. And we don't plan on ending up in an old folks home somewhere. We actually managed independent living communities for a while, and they're great, they're wonderful, they have their place, but
Just
it's
not
not
for
our
us.
place.
Yeah.
So we're doing things that are sustainable. And I was talking to Justin this morning when we were milking the cow, and he said how tired his hands got, and I says, yeah, we really can't do it anymore. And he goes, then what are you going to do? And I said, oh, well, we had gotten a milker, but it was battery operated. And it just popped on and came right down into the jar. And he goes, really? And I said, yeah, we have to get things that are sustainable for us. And we have a really great way to chop our wood that isn't a huge axe that goes down. And so we're just finding more and more products and sharing them with people.
And
so
techniques.
so that we are sustainable.
And that's what we want to share with everyone who wants to do this but are concerned about their health. Is first of all, get healthy. Yes, absolutely get healthy. But do things in a way that you don't tear yourself down, that you can keep doing as time goes forward, because for us, retirement is going to mean doing what we love to do, and we are in love with homesteading. And so this is what we intend to do until we can do nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for people your age to be in it. Because if it was all just people our age, then it dies off. But there's so many people your age getting into it that have never been into it. That is so wonderful. And how are you guys working towards being able to do it full time?
Yeah.
Or are you?
Yeah, so, we are trying to build up some. So on our property, we have the farmers markets, but we also have Bethany runs the tiny house boutique, tiny house boutique, which is a tiny house that we lived in. Yeah, we lived in a tiny house for about 6, 7, 8 months. 208 square feet.
204.
204 square
Bless your heart.
feet. 3 kids.
Three
Yeah,
kids.
five people and 204 square feet. If anybody watching has ever wanted to do that,
Watch
Don't.
our watch our channel first.
no, but
It was a good experience.
So Bethany had this idea of it's a neat place to go and see. It's just like when you get in there, you just feel like, oh, this is just
So
great
cozy.
place. It's so cozy and just great. And so we parked that right on our property, and then we are open either by appointment or days throughout, certain days throughout the week.
Now after the winter's over, we'll be open.
Yeah, and she sells items, or actually our whole family is really involved in that.
Mhm.
And then Bethany does hand make leather earrings, and so through those revenues, we do hope to actually just be full time on the homestead, and those are kind of our goals and aspirations to get to that point of we homeschool, homestead, and home. Kids. And so it takes a lot of time to do those things. And so we love it. That's exactly where we want to be.
It's
that
just
makes
a
our hearts
passion.
joyful.
It is such a passion.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up like that. My dad was obviously an entrepreneur, farmer, rancher. So, and then his dad, and I believe I should look to see how many generations it goes back. But I mean, we just did life together. We didn't homeschool. I wasn't homeschooled, but you just did life together. And so that's what he did grow up on a farm and ranch. So he didn't get to experience kind of that day in and day out, and homeschooling just works so beautifully with homesteading too for us because since we have the tiny house boutique, the kids are learning how to manage the cash drawer. So he's 7 and he can already count back change, and that's a lot of skills that most adults don't have. In a grocery
Adults,
store,
they just kind of grab it, but they have no clue.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. And so just doing that and learning how to serve customers well, and learning how to hear complaints, learning how to just have those customer relations, and learning how to handle, just learning how to get along with people, and then the tiny house kind of spun off of the farmer's market. So I was like, man, all these people are saying, all these vendors that were coming, I love what I do, but I don't want to open an Etsy shop. I don't want to open a retail space. I just like what I do, and I like to do it on the side a little bit. Well, I was like, well, maybe what if I created a space for them
So you
to
do a
be able to sell it?
consignment?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So we have about
wonderful.
20 consignment accounts. So I
Oh my
kind of
goodness.
just reached out to all of
Oh
those
my
vendors.
goodness.
And I just said, hey, are you interested in selling your stuff more than what because most of these people, you don't have to tell somebody who's crafty or who's whatever how to produce. That's what they're good
They got
at.
it.
Right.
They know
They
their
don't know
hands.
the marketing.
They just don't know the marketing side of it. And I've been in sales a long time and have learned those skills. And so I was just like, you know what? If this is something you lack and I have, let's work together. Let's collaborate. And I think they've found it to be beneficial because then their product's not just sitting in a cardboard box in their garage.
So the question that I have too, being semi-retired, how is homesteading? Would you tell other retired people to start a homestead?
We do all the time.
Every day. And what is even more amazing than the fact that we're saying that is that we are hearing back. Even yesterday at the premiere, we had several people say, we've been doing this for a couple of years, and they're our age or older. We're getting ready to do it. We're in the process of buying. We've been wanting to do it. You've inspired us. We're going to start looking for a place. I mean, that's what we're hearing over and over and over.
They'll say, are we too old? No, you're not.
Our kids are telling us we shouldn't do this, but this is what we really want to do. We're going to go do it.
Well, coming from our generation, what I seem to, and maybe this is just a mindset that I have, but it's like, we've worked in the corporate world. Now we're not there anymore. But in the corporate world, it was just like, okay, how soon can I retire? How much money exactly do I have? And then when can I go south and not do a single thing for the rest of my life?
Right.
Now,
I feel like, why would you have that perspective when I see you guys living to the fullest of every day, and you're healthy and you're strong and you're capable and.
Well, we just wrote in our newsletter, there is nothing magical about, you turn 65, well, that's your line in the sand, you can no longer do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
The people that are telling you that you cannot have a homestead are your kids, the government, the AARP, the retirement companies, the senior living companies. They have other plans for you. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go to those plans.
Yeah.
I have no plan to follow their plan.
Yeah. Well, I think, and that's the culture of the world that we live in.
Yes.
You know what? You've worked your butt off your whole life. Now you deserve to just
you
sit
deserve
back.
to go sit in
and do
that
nothing?
rocker.
Yeah.
Now, I am going to have a porch with a rocker.
There you go. I love it. Yeah.
But I'm going to have a jacuzzi to get in after I've worked a hard day.
Yes.
On the farm, too.
Well, I think the porch with the rockers for watching the sunset.
That's right.
And enjoying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look
Just,
at, look at what's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. That's so great. So,
well, you know, one of my favorite days is during the summer, the height, things are growing and doing well, and to be out in the garden working and hearing the bees and the other pollinators, just this hum in the background. You know, it's music to my soul. It's like, you know, just to pause and you hear that and you know what's happening to the plants, and it's just so renewing.
So we'll issue you young whippersnappers a challenge. This is what we do. When we have a homestead and we're both working, we're doing whatever we're doing on it. When one of us sees a sunrise or a sunset or an animal doing something, and we call the other person knows, stop what they're doing and come right now, because it's a split second of that moment before it's gone.
Yeah.
And every evening, when we lived in the desert on our little homestead, we would sit our chairs to the west and watch as the sun went down, and then we'd get up and go back to work. So we just enjoy those small moments.
Yeah, and there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what better, I mean, you don't get to do that very well in the city.
Oh,
And to be able to have that opportunity to pause and enjoy, drink in what's there is fantastic.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, in a culture that everything's just so rush, rush, rush. Go to soccer practice, go to ballet practice, go to this meeting, go to this, you know, and it's just, people are so stressed and anxious and depressed in a culture where we have everything.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the American dream is so great, but yet so many people are chasing the wrong things, you know, and when you kind of just stop to enjoy those little moments together as a family, you just realize, oh, it's a lot easier in the slow lane. You know?
As a closing for what I get out of this is this amazing love for farming, for homesteading, for living with your family, wherever it is, in a way that you actually get to live.
Yeah.
You get to enjoy your life, and it doesn't matter how old you are, because I can tell you that we still feel like teenagers. You don't feel any different. Just live different. You choose to live the way.
Yeah.
And I like your point about homesteading, homemaking, home. It's making home. It's making home. That's what it has to revolve around. When we start having our life revolve around something other than home, I'm not sure what we have, but it's not something that's going to fill your soul, which is what we need. We all need that. So.
All right. We're so thankful to be here with Heartiness Approach. Man, what a great time together. I hope you guys gleaned a little bit of something off of our time together.
And with 20-acre farms.
Yeah. So, thanks for allowing us to do this
You know,
with you guys.
thanks for coming on over. This has been great. We appreciate this, and we wanted to do it, and I don't know why we didn't.
We're so grateful that you called us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So,
All right. Well, thank you.
yeah, thank you.